class. This is chapter 10.3a, although your note does not say A, but it is chapter 10.3a lesson on slope. Slope really refers to the steepness of a line, and we're going to be dealing with finding slope by subtracting the coordinates of any 2 points on the line. There is a formula that says slope equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. We need 2 points, so we're going to designate one point as point 1 and the other point as point 2. Sometimes we talk about point A and point B. There are books, however, that instead of using y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, we'll write this as rise over run, where the rise is an up and down feature and the run talks about going horizontal. And again, because y is above or below, is up or down, we use that one first, and that's rise, and run refers to whether we move to the right or to the left. In our examples, we are going to start with a given line. And in this particular instance, we have a line, and I have already located the points for you, A and B. Point A has coordinates 1, 2. Point B has coordinates -2, -4. We write our formula, slope equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now, I suppose technically point B should be the y sub 2, x sub 2. And point A should be your x sub 1, y sub 1. So that's what we will work with. So our slope is going to be found by taking -4. Remember, we're supposed to take the y coordinates minus 2 over the x coordinates, which would be -2 minus 1. What you have to be very careful for is that if you designate point 2 as your x sub 2, y sub 2, that you make sure that you stick with that so that you don't do something like -4 minus 2 over 1 minus -2. We're going to do the mathematics. Now you have to remember that subtraction means to add the opposite. So -4 plus -2 is -6. Add the opposite. -2 plus -1 is -3. We simplify. If we can get to a whole number, we do a whole number. Otherwise, we leave it as a simplified fraction in lowest terms. -6 divided by -3 is a slope of 2. Let's look at example 2. Again, I have given you the line, and I have designated where your point A and your point B are supposed to be. Now we need the coordinates of A. Remember, we always start with x, so where x is 0, and we go up to the 2, so our y coordinate for point A is 2. The coordinates for point B are to go to 3, and then down to -7. We're going to write our formula. Slope equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And then we're going to substitute and do the mathematics. To be honest with you, it really doesn't matter if I designate point B as x sub 2, y sub 2, or if I designate point A as x sub 2, y sub 2. For example, I could do this as 2 minus -7 over 0 minus 3. Just make sure that if you are going to take point A as your y sub 2, x sub 2, that you stick with that and you don't use the 2 and then the 3 for the x. We're going to simplify, add the opposite, So we'll have 9, add the opposite over negative 3. And we're going to complete the mathematics to get a slope of negative 3. Now you'll notice here that this is a negative slope, and you can slide down the line. If you look back at example 1, this is a positive slope. You have to crawl up the line. Negative slope, you slide down the line. So that's one of the ways to tell of if you have a negative slope or a positive slope. Are you supposed to slide down or climb up? We climb up the positives, we slide down the negatives. Sometimes, however, we can have horizontal lines. And if we look at this particular line, point A has the coordinates negative 4, 2, and point B has the coordinates 5, 2. Again, we're going to write our formula, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub, whoops, started to write a 2 there, x sub 1. So our slope is going to be 2 minus 2, because I'm going to take my coordinates, and this time I am going to use point B as y sub 2. So I'm going to take 5 minus negative 4 in this particular instance. And when I do that, my slope, 2 minus 2 is 0, add the opposite, 0 over 9, but I simplify, 0 divided by 9 is 0. And the truth is that the slope of a horizontal line is always 0, and it really doesn't matter where it is on the quadrant grid. If it's a horizontal line, its slope will be 0. But on the other hand, what happens when we have a vertical line, such as in example 4? Point A is at negative 5, 2, and point B is negative 5, negative 4. Again, my slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. My slope is going to be, I'm going to pick B as being my designated point 2, so I will have negative 4 minus 2 over negative 5 minus negative 5. And the opposite, I will get negative 6 over 0. Well, this does cause a problem. We cannot solve division by 0. Division by 0 is what we call undefined. And the truth is, you can't solve this. If you try putting that into a calculator, it will come back with an error message. We cannot divide by 0. You just can't do it. And in fact, the slope of any vertical line, no matter where it is on the quadrant grid, it's always going to have a slope that is called undefined. To be honest with you, division by 0 is considered an undefined operation. We absolutely cannot do it. Sometimes, instead of working with lines and points on the lines, we actually work from a table. And this is where, for example, let's say we had negative 3, 0, 3, and 6 as our x's, and our y's are 7, 5, 3, and 1. Now if you'll notice, first we're going to look at what happens as we go from right to left. As we go in the x, from negative 3 to 0, we're adding 3. As we go from 0 to 3, we're adding 3. As we go from 3 to 6, we're adding 3. Now you know from the last chapter, chapter 9, that if it's a function, you'll be adding the same number every time. Or if there's, that if it's really a function, you're going to be doing the same thing every time. So that's why adding 3 to the x is going to be something that's done every time. Our next x, for example, has to be 9, then 12, then 15. But if we look at our y values, we go from 7 to 5. We're decreasing by 2, so that's what we call a negative 2. From 5 to 3, it's a negative 2. And from 3 to 1, it's a negative 2. Some people would say, yeah, you're subtracting. Yes, we are. So that would work too. We would know, for example, if we keep going that we'd be at -1, -3, etc., etc. Well, right here, we have what our y sub 2 minus y sub 1 is. This is our y sub 2 minus y sub 1. We've just found it because we did the subtraction. 7 minus 5, 2, but it's a -2 because we're going down. So we're going to write -2. What is your value for your change in y? Well, up here, that is your x sub 2 minus x sub 1, and that's a 3. And at this point, in all honesty, we're done because -2/3 is already in lowest terms. But it does tell us that they want us to graph the line. So now we have to graph those points. -3, 7, which is up here, 0, 5, 3, 3, and 6, 1. Okay, and I'm going to have a hard time drawing this line because I don't have the option of using ruler. You do. So I'll do my best. Again, notice that I've gone all the way through my grid. I don't just make an itty-bitty line right in here. Okay, I actually use my whole grid. All right, there's one more example here. This time I would like for you to hit pause and you try to do the problem. Here's the solution to the problem, that our x's are going up by a +1 and our y's are going up in value by a +2. Yes, you still have to write the formula y sub 2 minus y sub 1, which is going to have a value of 2, and your x sub 2 minus x sub 1, which is a value of 1. And you'll notice that here I could simplify to a whole number, 2. It's a positive slope. Then I graphed the points and drew the line. And that completes lesson 10.3a on slope. I'll catch you next time.